Okay, let's learn the rough cost estimate of a residential building. Okay, the plinth area, that is actually the plinth area, that's given, okay, which is 250 square meter. Now the rate of construction, that's also known, which is actually 3250. This is been given in RS, okay, in per square meter. So this is actually rate of construction. Now the boundary wall, that's the actually the length, that's also known, which is actually just 30 meters. That's the boundary wall's length, okay. And the rate of construction for the same wall, that's just different, okay, which is actually RS 1200 per meter, okay. This is actually per square meter, and here that is just the length, so it is actually like in running meter, okay. So 1200 RS per meter. So simple. Now we are asked to determine the rough cost estimate of the same residential building, and here are something else, okay. Some things are like, you can say, the water supply, electric supply, gas supply, sanitary work, and some contingencies, okay. These things are also just asked to be determined, okay. Like, you can say the electricity, that can be taken as 8%, water supply and sanitary work, that is also 8%, and then we have the gas supply, which is actually like, you can say, maybe 4%. These things can be different, okay. But however, these are just normal. I have seen in many books these things are just normal, like 8%, 4%, and then you can say contingencies. These are taken just as you can say contingencies, if I'm not wrong in the spelling. That is actually 3%. Okay, so contingencies can be actually the extra material, the extra cost, you can say, okay, which is 3% of the total estimated rough cost estimate. Okay, so let's just go ahead and let's determine the rate of construction for the plinth area, which is actually 250. Okay, so let's just determine the rate of construction. I mean just the estimate, okay, the cost of construction. That can be actually the plinth area, which is just known 250 square meter times the rate, which is actually 3250. Okay, so just multiply these two, we can just get the cost of construction, and that is actually 812500 RS. Okay, this is actually in RS, or you can say Pakistani rupees. This can be in dollars, can be in other currencies, does not matter. Okay, just learn the estimation process. Now let me just make some rooms for myself. Okay, so we have the cost of you can say construction. Now we can just determine the, you can say, the cost of construction for the boundary wall, because the rate over here is just different. Okay, so let's just determine the cost for boundary wall. That can be actually the unit rate, which is this time, as you can see, 1200. This is RS times the length, which is actually 30 meters. Okay, so we can just say that the total cost for the boundary wall is just, you can say, 12 threes are, that is 36, and just that thousands. Okay, so this is also in RS. Now let's just add these things so we can have the cost of construction together. Like, you can say the total cost construction, that is actually 36,000 for the boundary wall, and for the plinth area, that is actually this thing, 81,2500. Okay, so we can just add them together to have the total cost, and that can be 848500 RS. Okay, make sure you put this thing over there at the start, you can say. Now we can just take the or you can say determine electricity, water supply and sanitary, gas supply, and at the end we will just consider contingencies, okay, for the total. Okay, let's just go ahead for the electricity. That is actually 8%. Okay, so percentage is actually, remember that is in 100, so we're going to divide it by 100, and the percentage 8% is actually of the total constructions cost. That is actually the same thing, 848500. okay, so the electricity cost can be actually, you can say 67,880 if I'm not wrong. Okay, so that is actually 67 and 880 RS. Okay, now we can just determine water supply and sanitary. Water supply and you can say sanitary. That is also 8%. Okay, just the same thing is electricity. Okay, so we can say that is just the same thing, and that is actually 67,880 RS. Okay, now let's just move ahead, okay, for the gas supply. Okay, so let's just determine gas supply. That is actually just 4%. So 4 by 100 times the construction cost, that is actually 848500. okay, the total construction cost, and if I'm not wrong, that's gonna be 33940 RS. Okay, so now we can just add these things together, like the construction cost, the electricity, the sanitary, and the gas. Okay, just these 4 things to get the you can say the total cost, okay, for these things. Then we will just make contingency. Like, it's really complicated to make contingencies for these 4 things separately, like contingency 3% of this, okay, 3% of this, 3% of this one, 3% of this one. This is going to take us a lot of time, so it's really you can say easy to determine the total of these 4 and then take its 3%. okay, like the total of these, like this one, that can be actually the total, and if I'm not wrong, that is actually 1018200. that is actually the grand total, okay, RS. Now we will have 3% of this for the contingencies. Okay, all right, now let's have it over here. Okay, now the cost of contingencies, we're gonna have contingencies over here, and that is actually 3%. You're gonna just divide that by 100, and just the total grand, that is actually 1018,200. okay, 1018,200. so we're gonna have the contingencies, and if I'm not wrong, the contingency can be you can say 30 and 546 RS. okay, RS means again rupees. Okay, now let's just add the total estimate. Okay, so we can say the total rough cost estimate of the same building. Okay, that can be actually the contingency 30,546 plus the total cost, which is actually this thing, or you can say just this thing. Okay, so let's just add it, okay, with the same video. Okay, adding these things, we can have just the total cost, and that is just actually 1048,7 and 46 RS. That's so simple. Okay, so this residential building is gonna cost us 10,48,746 rupees. Okay, this is how you can just determine the rough cost estimate of a building. See you in the next video.